Hi everybody, welcome to today's webinar on using the Smart Notebook. We'll probably give people a couple of minutes just to log in, so we'll get started in maybe 2 minutes. So you can sit back and hopefully a nice, enjoyable webinar is ahead of you. So I'll just give everybody 2 minutes to log in. Okay, so guys, I'm sure we might as well get rolling, and if anybody wants to join us, they'll be more than welcome. So I suppose throughout the webinar, if anybody wants to send a message, my colleague Melissa is here beside me, and she'll be able to respond to you through the chat function, send it to all panelists or attendees or whatever you want to do. So you're more than welcome to do that as we go through the webinar. If you have a specific question on something I've just covered, throw it into the chat function, and also at the end I can take some questions live if that suits people as well. So to give you a little bit about myself, my name is Reid Nicker-Stord, and I'm teaching 6th class here in An Bhoscail in Limerick City. I've been teaching 6th year for the last 5 years and been using the Smart Notebook and the board here. And in previous schools, I've been very, very lucky to use it as well. So I'm a smart exemplary educator as well. So just done a little bit of training with Smart, which is great, just to upskill on the board. So the plan for today is to look at these aims. So our objective for today is to focus on literacy and numeracy and ways to improve a lesson using a Smart Notebook. I'm going to give a quick introduction to just the Smart Notebook. I know some people might know it already, other people might be a little bit unsure about how to use it. So we'll keep it pretty basic. And I suppose the focus of today is to look at some literacy and numeracy ideas using the Smart Notebook. And then at the end, we're going to just touch upon the Smart Exchange and all the amazing resources that are available there. So jumping on, I suppose the focus of today, with everything that's going on with COVID and literacy and numeracy being so important, I just wanted to show people how Smart can make your life so much easier and just kind of do really, really quick and easy lessons that will take 2 to 3 minutes and will just really, really improve any of these lessons. So that's just a quick background as to why I chose to do it. So starting off today, what we're talking about is the Smart Notebook. So very, very simply put, when you open up your Smart Notebook, you have your toolbar up here, and you also have a toolbar to the side. So I suppose as a teacher in the classroom, some of the major functions that I will use is obviously the pen function here. So when I pressed upon the pen function here, it brings down, or brings over, I should say, my little menu here of the different color pens. And within this, my drop-down menu, I have a variety of different types of pen that I can use. Within my day-to-day teaching, being realistic, it's generally the normal pen I would use. Sometimes I'll jump into the calligraphy pen if it is a literacy or a writing lesson that I'm doing. And also the magic pen is one I'm going to touch upon today, that just kind of gives you a couple of cool functions that always get the kids motivated and get their attention back. So we'll keep it on the normal pen for now and just keep that up here. There's other functions like a typing function here, an eraser, The fill function here I'm going to touch upon in a minute when we talk about grids. There's loads of different functions up here. Another 2 or 3 that I want to draw your attention to is just this one here for creating kind of interactive activities. And I have a couple made already that I'll show you later on in the webinar. This function here for maybe using a dual screen, so I could show 2 screens at the one time, have the full screen up if you wanted to. And the other one, as I always call the dálóg with the kids at school, is bringing in a blind, which can be pulled downwards, can be pulled in from the side, can be pulled in from the other side. So it's just a really, really handy function. And I'll talk about that in context in a couple of minutes. So this up here, as I've gone through, here are our pens. We have a fill function up here. Obviously, your cursor is here. An icon for creating activities, and our blind up here for hiding text if needs be. Over here on the other side on our other toolbar, what you'll find here is just my list of pages that I've created today when I want to scroll up and down through them. The next one here is kind of my content. So really, really handy thing within it. There's loads of different images, interactive things that we look at, in particular with numeracy, and they're all saved within your gallery items here. So really, really handy. You'll also notice the little bureau on sun, or the paper clip. You'll notice that I've added a couple of hyperlinks. So they're kind of nice things that you could throw in and go through later on in your lesson. But don't get too bogged down with that. I'll try and keep it as simple as I can today. So that's a really, really brief introduction to what I'm going to use today and some of the literacy and numeracy ideas that I'm going to talk about. So let's jump on. So the first one I have here is just creating a very, very simple table. So what you'll notice here, I'm just inserting a grid. So what I'm doing with the grid here is just, you could do anything, I suppose, in a sense. So how do you create it? So up here, I just come on my grid function. If I wanted to have 3 boxes across, I start here, select my 3 boxes across, and maybe 4 boxes down, 5, whatever it may be. Pull it, and it brings in your grid. So I find this really, really helpful, and I'll show you a couple of different ways. I'll just clear this one away using the back button and just look at this one here. So in terms of maths, in terms of literacy, sometimes I just find that when I go writing on the board, it can go everywhere on me. So inserting a really, really quick table can keep you really organized. You can organize your work, you can have headings and subheadings, and it's just a really, really nice thing to have. So I'll show you the next page that I have here, and I suppose I've progressed it on slightly. So what I have here, I'm talking about verbs, I'm talking about time order words, and I'm talking about nouns. So in a literacy lesson, I might have something like this created. I also save a lot of these in my content, and I'll show you that in a minute. So what that means is I can just write up my verbs using my pen for the children, maybe some time order words, tomorrow, suddenly, a little bit later on, whatever it is you're using, and your nouns here. So really, really easy to pick up your pen, choose whatever color you want. You could talk here about tomorrow, etc. Over here, whatever your noun is, whether it's the dog, and talking over here about verbs and maybe ran. And then you can just keep track of the children's ideas, whatever it is, as you're going through the lesson. So I just wanted to show you, just clear this off for a second, just wanted to show you the really handy thing about this. If you kind of said, God, that grid might be handy tomorrow or the day after, it's something I could maybe edit upon. What I do is I come over here and I look, and it's page number 8 that I have here. If I hold this down, you'll notice a box function came around it. And if I press add page to gallery, what will happen is automatically this has been saved into my gallery. And you'll notice that there's quite a few different pages that I use on a regular basis. I have a homework page that saves me having to write it out every day. And that's just saved into my gallery, and I can pull it across whenever I want and use it within my lesson. So I'll show you quickly. If I was to press here on a blank page, if I come over here, if I go into my content and say, for example, oh, there it is, I want to pull it in it comes, and I have it there ready to go, ready to edit and to use again. So just a really, really handy thing. I suppose to develop that on again, this is an example, I suppose, Tish go bhfuil ag múna is scoil lán Gaeilge, an rud atá ann ná há sé das na bríthir a bheith agat. So it's nice to have your verbs, and I suppose just to kind of jazz it up and try and change it a little bit for the kids. So I was talking about the fill function earlier. So I suppose when you're talking about headings, I might say, okay, guys, we're going to color this color. And then I could decide when I'm designing it myself. I don't know why that's not working for me, but anyway, these things always happen when you're live. But I can just change the different colors as we go through. I've my Aimsir Kata, my Aimsir Láthruach, my Aimsir Áisneach. Again, all coming from our simple grid function up here, which is really, really handy. Being honest with you, this is just something I'll go on to Google or whatever it is and just copy and paste them and throw them in. So it's not that you're typing for ages at the computer. It's something you could save, you could change it and do your Cayman Comparada, so you could have all whether it's writing in English, writing in Irish, doing grammar, whatever it is. The grid I just found really, really helpful. So on to the next thing, and I suppose in keeping with Irish again, I just wanted to show you a little piece of text and what you can do with just one piece of text. So again, this is something I quickly typed up that the children had in their own books, but just to make it that little bit more interactive, rather than looking at a piece of paper and a book and me standing up here, what's really, really nice is when you're teaching your verbs to pick up your pen and say, could somebody come up to the board and circle maybe an example of the Aimsir Áisneach, and bringing the children up, so they might pop up to the board, pick their colour and circle it. And I suppose just to progress that on slightly, what you'll notice here is I'm on the normal pen function. If I was to pop down here to the magic pen, the kids absolutely love this. So what you do is if you circle with an oval or put a ring around it, it will blacken out your screen, and there you are looking at your one word, rockig. So it just kind of puts all the focus on that. You can go back to it again, bring another child up and say, can you find another one? And they might go to Shulhig me. If you create a box this time, what will do will increase the size of it and just focuses the children's attention on it. You might say to them, can you see an example of the Tishel Ginnaduck? And they might say, oh, a Runtor, Lor, Macaruk. And when you underline it with the magic pen, after a couple of seconds, it will just fade away. So it probably won't work now for me, but oh, there it goes, it's fading away. So you'll notice this one here, I created using the normal pen, and I chose the blue color, so that stays there. You'll have to physically rub that off if you want to get rid of it. But it just brings the children up, it gets them interactive, you're putting the focus on your verbs for them before you move on to the, okay guys, we're going to scríobh an scéal san Aimsir Kata anish. So you've made it interactive, they've seen where the verbs are, they know what they have to change, but now all they have to do is go back to the Aimsir Kata. And if you were doing that with them, you might like to just kind of go back to the previous page you had to revise the verbs or whatever it may be. But just really, really handy, something really, really small, and you can make it really interactive. I suppose showing you the Dá Logan son, what you could do is go line by line with the children as well and just keep their focus as you go through it. So it's just really, really handy to have all of these functions within the smartboard. So moving on, and if anybody has any questions on what I've covered so far, throw it into the Busca chat and Melissa will be able to answer them for you. So just talking about literacy again, just a pre-reading task I'm talking about here. So last week we were reading a story from our class book, and I just took a couple of the words that I was kind of worried the children might be a little bit stuck on, the words eavesdrop, to throw down the gauntlet, or he had thrown down the gauntlet, those kind of words that the children might not understand. So just by bringing them up here, again, I could use my magic pen. I could talk about the structure of the words and just really, really simply bring their attention to the words that end in ed and shin. I could just talk about the fact that this ends in an ly. You could bring the children up and see, can you see any words hiding within words? Like the word all is hiding in here. Link it with your spellings and say, at the moment, we're looking at double S words. Can anybody see any word with a double? So you have your babble here, you have your double P here in scupper, all of the different ways, just by making it a little bit more interactive and having it up here. Again, this is something that I have saved in my content and is just editable. So you can just take it, fire in your new words, 60 seconds, have the kids working at their desks, have this typed up, and it's ready to go. So it's just really, really handy just to start off a lesson and see what you can do with it. So I suppose the next thing that I'm going to move on to here is just a bit more visual and talking, I suppose, about oral language and language development. And I suppose as a skill, I find children can find inferencing quite difficult. So to kind of build upon that. Now, you might have noticed here that I've added a little icon, and you'll see those throughout the rest of the slides. This icon means that I've gotten this or I've saved this on the Smart Exchange. And that's what we're going to talk about a little later on. So whenever you see this icon here, it means I've either saved it to the Smart Exchange or I have either just robbed it. And a lot of it really is robbing, and it's a super function. So up here, what do you think of this image? How does it make you feel? So we spoke about World War II in the class. I just threw up a lot of different images, and we actually went in the end after our English lesson and based our art lesson upon making silhouettes and talking about London and the bombings and all of those things. So even throwing up a very, very simple image. And again, we often talk about using a viewfinder in art. So again, up to your dialogue and maybe just concentrating on one area of the picture and saying, what exactly is happening here? What do you predict is happening on the other side? Who is he looking towards? All of these questions to stimulate the children. And all I've done is brought up a little blind to hide off little pieces of it. So there's so much you can do. I'm only probably a drop in the ocean as to what you can do with these things, but just some really, really nice activities. So moving on again, what I just wanted to give you an idea now is of the start of a lesson, the middle of a lesson, and the end of a lesson in literacy. So what I have here, what the kids absolutely love are the John Lewis adverts, and it's something I do every year with my classes. So with sixth, it's something really, really meaty that you can dig into and look at different things. So the kids will be given this sheet, and I actually just threw the images into a table. Again, my old buddy, the table that I'm mad about using. So what you do here is throw in your images, and before the children have even seen the advert, I would get them to come up and maybe order them for me. So sequence them. What do you think is going to happen first in the advert? And then I might write up their suggestions and get them to do it on their sheet, cut them out, maybe write in a little piece. The parents look quite perplexed here. They're shocked, develop their language rather than saying they're stunned. What are the other words we can use here? What's going on in this picture? And just use this as your focus at the beginning of the lesson. So this is part one of the lesson, something I've done really, really simple. The kids have their sheet. I can model it here. It's a larger version of it, saves me standing above with my piece of paper. Up here, really, really visual for them, and lots of content that you can talk about. I suppose moving on then, I'd like to show the children the advert. So like back in the old days, here's a little something I prepared earlier. I go over to my hyperlink, and you'll notice up here that I Buster the Boxer. So that morning before the lesson, I just went into Google, I copy and pasted the URL for this Vimeo video, and just threw it in there that it's there ready to go. So the minute I've this done, all I'm doing is pressing my hyperlink, double clicking this, and hey presto, it should come up. And of course it isn't working for me. I'll go here again. I didn't have it on this. And here we go. I can see it flicking. So I have my video running in the background. So just really, really handy. It might be just as easy to jump into Google and do it, but it's just something that I often use. It's handy, it's there on the side, and you know you have it at your fingertips. So I might play the video for the kids, and after they've seen the video, what we might do then is jump into some questioning. So these are the exact questions we would have used in the class. What do you think or why do you think the animals went the trampoline, and all the questions down along. So at the start, we had our sequencing activity. We watched our video. We have a little bit of questioning. The children would fill that in on the back of their sheet. So the middle of our lesson. And then just to finish, I've really pushed the boat out now for this one. On the next one, what I've done is I've created a post-reading or writing task. So what I did here is up here, this little icon up here is for creating activities. So if I press on it for a minute, what you'll notice is a variety of activities come up. You could do a fill in the blanks, you can do a flip out, just kind of changing over cards. And game show is the one that I changed. So that morning I said to myself, okay, what questions will I ask them just to go over? And I went with some true or false statements. So they've already done their little bit of questioning. So just a little bit of fun, just a little bit of revision at the back of it. And what I'll do is I'll just start the game. So all of this is done for you. All that I did, in a sense, was throw in a couple of statements. So we have our lovely game show host. The advert begins with the little girl jumping on the couch. And it doesn't, because the children saw her jumping on the bed. So I should say false. That's correct, and goes through it. So these things are just really, really handy for the kids to have. They love them. Even the older ones, believe it or not, when they see this guy coming up or somebody else, they're like, yes, a bit of crack for a minute. So it goes through all your questions. You can reset it, play it again, or whatever that is. So we're flying through literacy now. Just one or two quick things to show you. This again, robbed from the Smart Exchange. I was talking about creating sentences, sentence structure. Often in the books, there's scrambled sentences. And this is just something I robbed from the Smart Exchange. This will be handy. Drag and drop it into Henry the dog. Take up your words and drop it in. Again, you can edit it at your desk, go over and change them, throw in whatever words you have. Handy thing. And the Smart Exchange has so much there. It just makes life so easy. Last one, I think, on literacy then, again, Smart Exchange robbed by me, is just when you're talking about spellings with the kids. So what I have here is just another thing, quite interactive. And say, for example, we were talking about the word outburst today in school. You get somebody up and pull down their letters and spell out their word. So I won't go the whole way across for you, but you get the idea. Just really, really handy. The kids then can drag up their letters again, put them back in place, and then you have that as an interactive thing. Just nice, I suppose, on a Thursday when you're revising your spellings and going through all that. Just something I robbed from the Smart Exchange, went into spelling, see what they have in there, came across this, said, brilliant, I'm going to copy and paste that, download it for myself and have it, throw it in then to my content, and it's there at your fingertips whenever you want it. So that's a little bit of literacy for you guys. And I'm going to jump down and have a little chat now on numeracy and see how the Smart Exchange can help us and how the Smart Notebook can help us with numeracy. So again, another great find from the Smart Exchange. What I have up here is just the 11 times tables, and I suppose you're constantly trying to rehash them. People have amazing ideas for doing things ovale, clapping them out, whatever it might be, Rina Tobli that we play in the class. And just up here, press on your spinner, flings it around, and you're saying 11 by 10. Kids put up their hand, bring a child up to the board, they can be the teacher, press it again, off you go, spinner goes round. And these are available for all of your tables, multiply, divide, add, subtract, whatever class level you might be at. And all these spinners are there. You can create spinners yourself, but that would take a bit of time. I'm a great person for pulling and dragging and seeing what's there. So that's an example maybe for going over your numeracy, revising your tables, and again, something I took from the Smart Exchange. So up I come. The next one now came from Smart itself and my gallery. So I suppose dice games, even for a second, if everybody was just to take 60 seconds and think to themselves, how many dice games do I know? And even throw them in to the chat function there. If you know a game that's brilliant, throw it in and we can share with each other. So my one, when I'm doing them with the kids, I'll often get them to roll them out. And what you do is just press upon it, They could multiply them, they could order them, they could tell me the number, they could tell me to round it to the nearest 100, round this number to the nearest 10. I'm sure you have amazing ideas yourself. I suppose from the smart side of things, I just wanted to draw your attention to the fact that some of them look a little bit different. When this function comes up here to the side, I just pressed upon it, and all I'm doing is really changing the color of it. I could make it blue. You can do whatever you want with them. You can make them larger, you can make them smaller. And all I did was go over here to the side. When I go into my gallery functions, I'm on my content at the moment. So when I go into my gallery essentials, I'll just type up here. And generally when I tip the down arrow, a dice is something that I'm always looking for. And it's here in the interactive and multimedia section. So again, you just go into your gallery essentials, type in whatever you want from it. Obviously, there's pictures of dice, which are lovely, but it's more so going in to the interactive and multimedia function and pulling in your dice, changing them up, whatever you want to do. I'm sure people are throwing in some great ideas into the chat about using dice or whatever you might do. A really, really good one, and I have to mention it while I'm here, is often putting up a dice or giving the children out a dice and putting up questions like why, who, where, when, how, and numbering them. And when the children roll a 2, they'll have to ask each other a why question or a cén fá question. So there's loads of things you can do by numbering it at the side and saying number 1 is why, number 2 is how. And then all you're doing is pressing upon it and getting them to ask each other different questions or a whole class scenario to start them up as a warm-up. So moving on again, these are just a couple of pages that I would have brought over from Twinkle. Twinkle and Pinterest are, I suppose, a teacher's best friend. And maybe at the end of this, you might say to yourself, Smart Exchange could be a new best friend of yours as well. So here I just threw up a couple of ideas. Roll the dice, multiply the number by 2 or 3 is your answer on the grid, color it in, all these games that the kids can have a page, but also you can visually throw these up as well, rather than standing there with the page going, okay, can everybody see this is the page we're on, that you're physically putting these pages up here and that the kids know what you're talking about. So this is just an example of one of the maths ones that I would have thrown up. I have it here as a visual. If the kids are talking, I can pick up my pen and I can say, fantastic, you got that as your number 2. I might shade in this box, whatever you might be doing. And I suppose that brings you on to other functions with the pen. You could go crayon, color them in with your crayon. Sorry, I didn't pick a color there. Color it in with your crayon, whatever it is to make it interactive and fun for the children. Same thing again on the next page. Just an example again, another page I brought from Twinkle. What can you do with 2 dice? Do you want to even go over here, back to your gallery and pull in an interactive dice and say, okay, boys and girls, how are you getting on rolling your dice? They can take a second to kind of load up. Don't worry about that. Press on your dice, roll it and say, okay, the first time I rolled my dice, I got a 6. Multiply your 2 numbers together because you'd obviously have 2 die for this, and just kind of work through the different games on it. So this is really, really easy. It might be a warm-up game, whatever it might be in your maths lesson. So on to the next one, cards. Again, I couldn't not put in a couple of cards. Really, really handy. Again, over into my Smart over here, just go into your gallery essentials, fire it in again. You'll probably notice doctor, bedroom, spider. I'll be throwing in a bit of everything, playing cards and cards. So when I press upon that, you'll notice here that the pictures come up. I can pull in as many of them as I want. I'll pull in an old ace. So you can see it over here on my ace. I can make it smaller. I can make it larger just by pulling upon it and having it over here. A really, really handy thing as well is that if you bring something in and you don't want it to move, it can be really, I suppose, distracting if a kid comes up and brushes off it and it's moved and where is that going, a room tour. Just over here, you'll see the little drop-down menu on it. And when you come down to here to lock, what you can do is lock it in place. So that means no matter what we do, our ace won't move. Okay, this one will move, but we've locked our ace in place. So if you wanted to keep it on the side or do whatever it is, these are so handy. I suppose when I'm teaching decimals with 6th class, I might throw in just a little decimal point. I'm on my crayon function there. So put in a decimal point, fire it in, and tell the children, okay, the decimal point isn't going to move, but I want you to make it 10 times larger. And the children might have to move over their cards. This is making it 10 times smaller. Oh, I want to make it 10 times larger. So they're moving all their cards over. So now we have 2, 4, 5 and our 8 over here. Great for place value as well, just to line them up, Marsha, and get the children to write out the number 245, but tell them this is your 200, your 40 and your 5. There's loads of things out there that you can do, but just great to have these resources at your fingertips that you can do whatever you want with them. And they're all saved. You don't have to go anywhere to get them. They're all here. Just find them in your Gallery Essentials. I'll just pull that up here, Gallery Essentials, type away whatever you might want. You have your interactive and multimedia, your notebook files and background pages as well. So there's loads there to play around with. Even if you've 5 minutes this evening, have a look and see what's at your fingertips. So moving on to a next thing, we're flying through it here. This is a kind of a pre-made thing, very similar to what I would have done a minute ago with the cards. What you'll notice here is I've put in a little sputta, and you'll notice that it's moving around. Again, I could lock that in place if I wanted to. But what's really, really visual about this, again, if I'm increasing or decreasing my numbers, I've on ein dehu, ein ceadú, agus ein vilu, and son, I've my éanad, my def, my cead, agus an mila. So when you're talking to the kids about their number value, I want them to increase them. Kids are constantly moving the decimal point, but telling them that's fixed. And what I'm actually doing is moving my numbers along. It's increased, it's gotten bigger. And visually doing that, the kids can have their whiteboards and markers. They can mirror what I'm doing. You could change this around and add numbers and use this grid to say, okay, now I'm going to take this number away from this number and have it visually laid out for them. So there's loads of things. This is literally something I created myself, drew a couple of lines. And if you come over here and look at my content, it's always in here in my content. I'll change it around, mix it up and down. You'll see there's tables in there the whole time, different bits and pieces that I just find really handy within the classroom. So back onto the Smart Exchange then. There's loads of things out there. The other day we were talking about factors. I said, do you know what? I'll go onto the Smart Exchange, see what's there with factors. My icon is here just to let you know. So what we have here, factors are 9 or 18 or 2 or 12 and are 27. What I did with the kids just as a warm-up activity, out with your whiteboards, can you tell me a little bit about it, and talked about the factor families, in particular the 27 and the 18, how many pairs of factors make up those numbers. And you can use this quite visually to start off your lesson and then progress on with the rest of your teaching. So there was lots within this. So what I kind of found with it was, I don't really want all of it. I'm just going to take one page and I robbed it. And I'll show you all that when we get onto the Smart Exchange in a second. So that's that one there. On to the next one. Again, another thing, these are all things that I probably would have robbed along the way. A question at the top. You could maybe focus on what's the important pieces of information. What do I need to take out of it? The step 1 for align your decimals, and then step 2, your addition. So just talking to children about the importance of alignment when you're adding something with a pointed aculaka. So that's just something that I found quite handy when I was having a look one of the days. Another one I found quite handy, I suppose you could use this in a younger class, change up the numbers. Can I count in 2, 5s and 10s? Really nice down here, the way that you have the numbers before, our middle numbers, and the numbers at the end. Just adding on, can you come up and add in 5s? Can you see the sequence here? So there's so much available. I just wanted to throw in, I suppose, 1 or 2 things to make you aware of what's available out there. I suppose we use the likes of Twinkle and Pinterest the whole time, that if you have a smart board, this could be a really, really handy resource for you to pull in. So moving down along, I'm not too bad. This one here, I just kind of said, okay, I'll make it a little bit interesting. Took me 2 minutes to do, and it was done. I took out the maths book. I said, okay, today we were looking at our Caban and we were looking at our Daculaka and what is their matching correspondent. So Cian Ceann a Héan le Aon Cahru, will it's got Cian Dacul a Héan le Shin. So just made an interactive game. Again, came up here, said to myself, I just want to match up the pairs. What one am I going to do? I'm just going to make one up. Match them up is what I chose down here. Really, really easy. And then pull in, I'll pick a nice easy one in case I go wrong. In Cahru, down I go. Over here, what could it be? Ah, there it is. Got a bit panic there for a second. And it just matches them up, puts them together. There you go, really interactive. You can get as many kids up as you want, pulling them all over. A nice little bit of revision, nice at the end of the lesson before you move on to the next thing. Have it up on the board, bring kids up. You can have one person playing on this side, another on the other. There's so many options and things you can do out there. So again, I just went up here to my activities, decided which one I wanted, matched them up and created it literally within 2 minutes. And you have it ready to go for the next day. Up here then, I suppose one of the things being realistic about numeracy is you could be in the middle of a lesson, somebody will get stuck, somebody won't know what to do. This is something that you could just fire up. So you'll see I've actually 95 thrown up on this one. And this is a really, really handy way of bringing in your dá log as well. So rather than having to go, geez, I want to go on to countdown now and throw up something, or what am I going to do? I have one of these made. Can you make the target number? So I fired up 95 today, ran off and helped whoever needed helping. But rather than throwing up all these numbers, I might say, okay, guys, today I want you to work off line 1, and I want you to also try and use these numbers. Then the next day, you could bring it down to here, bring it in from the side, whatever it is you want to do with it, and you can just select a number of numbers. You could even use your pen, circle a couple of them and see can they come up with multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting. Gives you 2 minutes, lets you kind of catch your breath, run and help that child. A teacher comes in to talk to you, fire this up, away you go. The kids know how to do it, and all of these things that are ready to go. It's inside in your My Content, pull it across, off you go, guys, and féidir live on some shaw I'm shoe, off we go, Kirstock, Ivernese Mo, Ivernese Lou, whatever it is. So that's kind of a nice thing just to kind of promote numeracy in the middle of the day, even if you wanted. So I suppose I've been yabbering on about the Smart Exchange for so long. What really is it? So the Smart Exchange is an online community that lets you connect with other teachers and share lessons and ideas for Smart Notebook. I suppose it's similar to Twinkle and Pinterest, as I've mentioned, but the big thing about it is you can look for ready-made lessons just to use in the classroom. And I suppose what I really wanted to kind of show you today is you don't have to take the whole lot of them. One page might suit you. You might say, no, I don't want that. So there is a little bit of hopping over and back to see what's there. I suppose as a community, we might as well jump onto it there. Next time, we'd love to hear from you. So if I jump over here for a second, I'm just going to go into my page up here, and I'm just going to manage my resources. Leave this page, I'll leave it there. Yeah, perfect. So what you'll notice here is I've logged on as myself onto the Smart Exchange. Now, after the webinar is over, you'll get a PowerPoint version of my Smart Notebook, and I've also sent you a link as well to get into the Smart Exchange. So just up here, this is my one. So I've gone into Smart Exchange and I set up my own account now. Really bad. I've only uploaded one resource so far, but I need to get better at this. And I suppose that's the whole idea behind it, is there's a huge market there in America and England, but in terms of Irish resources, yes, there's a bit, but there's not a lot. So this is just the arts lesson that I would have talked about earlier, thrown up there, talking about the Blitz, tied in with your World War II novels, tied in with your art. And this is my Smart Exchange. This is my profile. So if I wanted, I click on myself here, I can share a resource. So simple to do. Just drop in your resource, whatever it might be, add in a little title, a couple of pieces of information. You'll probably see that it says grades. So it isn't, I suppose, very Irish teacher friendly, but look, it's just one of those things. Irish is there, your country is Ireland, all of that. So it's just a handy thing. So this is all my page here, how I do it. Now, so if we leave this for a second, I just opened another window, the Smart Ireland one I'm going to hop into. So this one here is what it looks like in a nutshell, really. And just what you'll notice, if I just pop into this one here, synonym practice, I'm just going to click upon it. And what you'll notice is it just comes up here and it just gives you a quick synopsis of what it is. If you want to open it up in your smart workspace, you can. Generally, what I would do is just have a quick look at them, see what they're like, kind of say, this one isn't for me. I'm going to jump back here and I'm going to say, do you know what? I didn't want the synonym one. I actually wanted to look at maybe fractions. I've been talking about maths. So I'm just going to go up here. I've actually fractions written in to save me a bit of time already. And just press in here. And this will bring me up to this page. So it's quite user-friendly, quite easy to use. You can see here, I've searched for fractions. You can kind of eliminate things in your search or kind of hone in on a specific subject, narrow your results, whatever it is. And then I suppose it just takes a little bit of going down through it. So I might say, oh, this looks quite nice, fraction pies. So you can click to review it here and kind of say, okay, that's nice. Shows you the first page, the second page. Yeah, this is exactly what I want in my class. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to download it. So what you'll notice is it will download here for you and you're kind of ready to rock then. So click on it. It will open as its own smart notebook. And then what you can do is kind of say, do you know what? I'm going to take this page. I'm going to leave that page. And just copy and paste, just like I've been doing all evening and going through the different ones. So what you'll notice here, my page is open and nothing has come into it for some reason. Why has that happened on me? Needless to go, but it should. That shouldn't happen. So when you download it, it should come down. You have it here. I'll try it again. Of course, this would happen to me just at the end. But yeah, so we're doing quite well with the little bits and pieces here. So what I might do is just go back. Let's see, will it open this time for me? No, it won't. Of course it won't, but it should work. It should work. So what we're talking about here, just to go back over it, Smart Exchange, throw it into Google, have an old play around yourself. It's probably the best way to go is just to see what they have, what's available. Do I need to narrow my search? Do I need to put it into the Irish content? Do I need to put it into specific years? Am I going to throw in 6th class and throw it down that way and see what I get from there? So you can change your search, have a little look at them, copy and paste, click to review them, say, yeah, that's really, really nice. Do you know what? I'm going to open that up. I'm going to leave that, download it and keep your resource, copy and paste it in. So I've probably bombarded you at this stage, guys, with quite a bit, and I've gone over my 40 minutes. So what I'll do is I will throw it back to here and see if anybody had maybe a question on any of the pages that I would have covered. So I'll give everybody a couple of seconds if they want to throw in something. As I said, this is going to be sent out to you as a PowerPoint presentation with all of my pages here. And you'll also get a copy just of a link, brings you straight into the Smart Exchange. And just even if you wanted to set up your own account, it's so easy. I just did it through my Google account. Have a look at the what's new sometimes is really handy. See what's coming up, get to know it, get to learn about it, and all of those things. There's training and videos available, absolutely loads. So I'll stop talking there for a minute and see. No, yes, no questions. So that's always a good sign. So if people are happy with that, thanks so much for your time. I know it's hard to stay back after a long day in school and a long day's work to listen to me, but I hope you took something from it. Go away this evening and you can check up Smart Exchange on any computer, just type it in at home, have a look, see what's there, download the resources, throw it up onto your drive and then pull it down at school the next day is probably my tip for you leaving. So I hope you enjoyed the webinar and you got something from it, and maybe one or two of the slides that I've used today might be used in your classrooms around the country very, very soon. Okay, Gurmili Mila Mahagwave lads, Slán go fót.